Helen Adams Keller was born June 27, 1880 in Tuscumbia, Alabama with full sight and hearing, to Captain Arthur Henry Keller and Kate Adams Keller. She was a bright and energetic child. Disaster struck when Helen fell ill with a mysterious ailment they called brain fever when she was 19 months old. Modern doctors now believe she had scarlet fever or meningitis. After the fever subsided, they rejoiced, expecting Helen to get better.
Okay, you're gonna get sick, Put the child down. Put the child down!
Learning break! Scarlet fever is a rash that sometimes occurs in people that have strep throat or high fever.
And meningitis is an infection of the fluid of a person's spinal cord and also the fluid around the brain. The bacterial meningitis results in brain damage, hearing loss, and learning disability. So that's probably what she had. Her sickness was cured, but her sight and hearing never returned. By the time Helen was 6, the Kellers couldn't handle anymore. Helen was a difficult child. She threw temper tantrums and objects and frequently broke things out of frustration. They pleaded for help and were recommended to Alexander Graham Bell, who thought his true calling now was the teaching of deaf children. Bell wrote to Perkins Institution for the Blind, and they were sent
Anne Sullivan.
Anne Sullivan lost the majority of her eyesight at the age of 5. She was a former Perkins student and had 2 operations on her eyes that helped her to read for short periods of time. Since it was hard to find a job, she accepted the Helen's job willing. Anne met Helen for the first time on March 3, 1887, at the Kellers' home in Tuscumbia, Alabama. She immediately started to teach Helen to fingerspell. An obstacle to Helen's learning the first few weeks was, of course, her bad behavior. The first words Helen learned by fingerspelling were doll and cake. Fingerspelling is the process of spelling out words by using signs that correspond to letters of a word that are used by the deaf. Although Helen could repeat these finger movements, she didn't quite understand what they meant. Anne and Helen relocated to a small cottage right off the main house in an attempt to improve her behavior by being away from familiar comforts. Since Helen knew her way around the property, they took an hour-long carriage ride to confuse her before they arrived at the cottage. Helen had still not quite fully understood the meaning of words. On April 5, 1887, a miracle occurred. Anne pumped water over Helen's hand and spelled out the letters W-A-T-E-R in her free hand. Somehow, the mystery of words was revealed to Helen, and her face immediately showed this light. After that, Helen's behavior improved immensely from the knowledge. Her progress was amazing. It wasn't long before Anne was teaching Helen to read with raised letters and then Braille, and even type with normal and Braille typewriters. Helen became famous when Michael Aganos wrote numerous articles on her. She visited many important figures like President Cleveland. She was living at the Perkins Institute and being taught by Anne.
Helen Keller, the first deaf-blind person to attend and earn a bachelor's degree of arts at an institution of higher learning.
Helen's beloved friend and mentor died after deteriorating health on October 20, 1936. After Anne's death, Polly Thompson, Helen's secretary, took over all of Anne's responsibilities. In the following years, they toured the world with lectures, speaking of Helen's experiences and beliefs to engaged crowds, which are interpreted sentence by sentence with question and answer sessions. They also did Helen's first understanding of water, which was hugely successful. They were earning up to $2,000 a week. Most of this was donated to the American Foundation for the Blind. In 1964, Helen was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest civilian award. A year later, she was inducted into the Women's Hall of Fame at the New York World's Fair. After a series of strokes, Helen died peacefully in her sleep on June 1, 1968, at her home at Arcane Ridge. She was cremated and her ashes were placed next to those of Anne Sullivan and Polly Thompson. Her legacy remains.
Helen? Wake up! Helen! Helen!
The qualities that make Helen admirable are hard to explain. The fact that she never gave up and kept striving to learn more and better herself and others is extraordinary. Helen didn't exactly have a career in the job sense, but for what she did, the more educated and world-wise you are, the more of a difference you can make in the world. Back in the day, disabled people were treated like a sickness, but because of her strong desire to make the world a better place, she not only helped deaf and blind, but was a breakthrough for all disability. The world thinks different now.
Stop it! Helen! You just kicked it! You know, I'm just gonna...
We have an hour and a half to finish the entire video.
Give me my drumstick! Oh!
What?
Wait! You guys are gonna be in it!
Don't let us be in it.
Nick, hold the camera.
Ow.
Please? I don't know if I can sit on you.
Wait, I'm already in. Wait!